Okay, everybody, how's it going? I'm Nick Baldwin. Hope you guys are having an awesome Friday. Today, we are going to talk all about the magic that is our consumer site and consumer site and app. Although I'm going to show you the site, I'm not going to show you the app, although the app does have the same features as the site. Before I start, I just want to ask who is using their consumer site. And if you want to unmute yourself and tell us what you like about it, because I find that a lot of people are not using their consumer site. So I'm curious to Mike, what's up? What do you like about your consumer site and why do you use it?
I'm brand new to Keller Williams, not new to the business. So this is my first time really interacting with a KW consumer site. I like it. I find it very easy to navigate. I think that the photos show up very clearly and easily. And so far, with only one exception, I've been able to find pinpoint locations, the townships, and districts I want to. Even though I put this one error, but that's okay. Perfect.
I'm having a little trouble hearing you, Mike, but what it sounds like your volume, sounds a little bit staticky, but what I think I heard was you're having trouble pinpointing certain areas. Is that what you said?
There's one area that for some reason is causing error, but for the most part, it's actually, I find it very easy to pinpoint the areas I'm looking for. The photos show up nicely. It's simple to use, and the saved properties work out very well to go back to an eye on.
Nice. Yeah, no, it's definitely a lot easier to use than it used to be. Tell me somebody who is not using it and why. Anybody, unmute yourself or drop a chat and let us know. Carrie, why are you not using it?
I gave up, with Kelly and all the troubles, and I figure they've worked out enough of the kinks now with new versions. So when I saw your email come by, I said, okay, time to relaunch it.
Well, I love that you're being honest about it, because that's the feedback I get from a lot of agents. They're like, I gave up. I didn't understand it. And so, they've been doing a lot of updating with Command and a lot of updating with the consumer platform. And this month, they're supposed to be releasing new search functionality, new neighborhood nurtures. So it's going to, I think, evolve even more. Peggy, I need you to unmute yourself, Peggy. You said you found it useless. What about it was useless, Peggy? I need to know.
It was easier to use the MLS interface in my market.
Okay.
And then deal with people on a more personal level. And forgive me, because I used to give out my KW app all the time, and then they made changes to it that made it I didn't like
different.
It. Yeah, very different. And I didn't care for it, but I'm open-minded. I'll try it.
Yeah, no, you're here. So I appreciate that. Julissa asks if taxes are reflected. Yes, they are. I know they are in Michigan and they are in New Jersey, but they are reflected now on the websites. And I think HOA fees are reflected now too. Okay, so yes. So the consumer app was a big change, right? Like totally 100%, totally 180-degree turnaround from the last consumer app. And one of the things that you have to understand, and I get this a lot from agents, they say, well, I don't like it. And to them, I see there's a couple of hands up, so I'll get you in a second. But to them, I say, but you're not the consumer, right? So let's look at it this way. When we're building out Command, how does KW do that? They do it with labs. So they used to do it a lot more when Command was first initially being built. And now they do it on a little bit of a smaller scale. And I've been in several labs. I was in the Command app lab. So I had the Command app on my phone for 3 or 4 months before it was released. And I would give feedback. They do the same for the consumer platform. KW has tested the consumer platform on over 1 million consumers. And so everything that you see on the consumer platform is there because they got great feedback from consumers. So the consumer sometimes sees things before you see it because they have like these focus groups. And so what you have to understand is if you don't like it, and I have no other way to say this other than it doesn't matter, because the consumer has told Keller Williams, this is a great feature and we want it. And so just keep that in mind, right? Over 1 million consumers our platforms have been tested on. So I'll say it again. If you don't like it, it really doesn't matter. And so we talk about a lot, how do we get our clients off of Zillow? Well, first of all, you're not going to get your clients off of Zillow ever to look at listings on your app. You will get your clients off of Zillow if you offer more in the way of information and data. And we have more information and data. And I will show you what that means exactly. And Peggy says she misses a mortgage calculator. There's a mortgage calculator on the app. There's one on every single listing. And there's also one in the guide. So when your clients are on the app and you sign them up and they're working in the guide, which takes them from point A to point Z in the home buying process, when they get to the mortgage aspect of the guide, there's a calculator. And there's also one on every single listing so they can calculate their mortgage. You just have to poke around and you just have to teach yourself. But I just want you guys to understand, the consumers are testing our app. So when they release the whole new neighborhood nurture, when they release the new search capabilities, it's supposed to be Q4. So they are in classic KW fashion, they are getting right down to the final minutes. There's going to be a lot of new functionality that consumers have tested and loved. So I say that with tough love, but it is true. Okay. Just like a movie gets viewed by an audience several times before it's released at its final cut, the consumers test out our platforms. So I want to get into the platform, but I think there's a couple hand raises here. Jody, do you have a question or a comment?
Yes. So my dilemma with the app is in our particular area, I'm in the Florida Panhandle. And if I've got a client that's looking in, say, Pace and someone in Navarre, we have 3 MLSs within a 20-mile radius. So depending on who that agent is, joined with, it makes it difficult. So I'm excited about the app and being able to have one place for setting up searches. But what I found a couple of weeks ago was setting up that search on the consumer side. I believe they can draw a map. They can draw lines around a map and do a search that way. But when we are setting up the search on our end, we can't make that same draw. We can only either put one zip code or one neighborhood.
Well, you can do multiple neighborhoods, but you can only do one zip code. And the drawing was released and then it was taken back because it needed to continue to be fixed up. So the drawing will come back. But yes, in the meantime, instead of drawing, you can do multiple neighborhoods within a zip code. So if there's an area that they want to focus on, it's similar to drawing. You're just selecting certain areas. So you can click more than one for sure. It's not the most ideal solution yet, but the drawing aspect on the agent side will be coming back very soon. So don't worry too much about that.
Well, that's good, because like with the neighborhoods, like I live in Holly by the Sea and it's a very large neighborhood. It actually, in the system, it's like 4 different neighborhoods. It's actually not one, it's not identified as one neighborhood. So it makes it a little bit difficult.
So I'll explain neighborhoods in a moment, because the neighborhoods come over from Nextdoor, which is our partner that helps us break down the data on a lot of a smaller scale. So I'll explain neighborhoods shortly, but let's jump in to First, I'm going to tell you why our websites look the way they look. And I'm going to start with this website. Maybe you guys have heard of it. It's called Zillow. And Nick, why are you showing us Zillow? Well, I remember when our websites were released several years ago, maybe it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I can't remember anymore. Time just is moving so fast. It was released and people just didn't like the way our sites looked. And their agents were like, ugh, but what about me? Like, what about my team? What about pictures of me on the homepage, and all my awards and all of the homes that I've sold and all of the money I've made? What about that? Right? Well, Zillow's done a really good job at making it about the consumer. And that's what we have to understand. This home search isn't about you. It's about the consumer. You should be easy to contact, which is why on our website, you're on every single page, whether it's usually on a listing, there's always a way to contact you. But when it comes to the actual home search, it's not about you. The transaction's never about you, but the home search is definitely not about you. And so when you go to Zillow, this is what you see. It's instantly about the consumer. You don't see any agents here with their arms folded, backs against each other and, looking cool. You don't see that. If you go over to realtor.com, it's literally the same website. Like you could remove each. I just realized this is an advertisement for that Disney movie. That's still kind of funny. All right. So when you go to realtor.com, it looks exactly the same for the most part. You can easily search. There's a home there. It's all about the consumer. When you go to homes.com, you can easily search. There is nothing about the agent. Well, there's an agent. I think this guy might be an agent because he's like kind of pointing out things to these clients. But it's similar in that you could remove the logos from all three of these websites and swap them out. You wouldn't know the difference. Also, one of our competitors, Compass, this is what their website looks like. It looks just like Zillow, looks just like realtor.com. So now, why wouldn't our KW sites look like that? Okay. Why wouldn't they look like that? Why wouldn't we take the billions of dollars that Zillow, Realtor, and Homes.com has spent for us to find out the way consumers want to search? And why wouldn't we R&D it? Why wouldn't we rip it off? This is why your websites look like this. It's why they don't have you on the homepage. But you can be found. You scroll down, you're right here. You kind of click these buttons here. they can find you in internal pages. So it's not like you can't be found. You can be found on listings. But this is why our sites were built like this. We have anything to thank Zillow for. They did all the market research to figure out how consumers want to look at houses. So we can thank them for that. Anyone have any questions around why they look like that? Someone's asking, Hernan, is it possible to have a video instead of photos? No, not right now. Maybe in the future. But the photos can move like this. They can change. So,
hey, Nick.
Yeah.
So I see a lot of successful agents using different variations of what what KW's app site is. Can you speak to that, or like why?
Say that again. Sorry. Say that again.
Sorry. I see a lot of successful agents using a variation of what our site provides, like the KW app and site. I was hoping you could speak to that and just kind of, I guess I'm kind of looking for guidance on to leverage this one more and landing pages more, or
yeah, I'm going to get into that.
All right, gotcha.
Yep, we're going to get all into that. So now I'm going to jump into the website and I'm going to show you the different features on the site that your consumers are actually going to love. But first, let me just choose a regular zip code. I'll just choose my old stomping ground, Bloomfield, New Jersey.
Nick, I had a question in regard
Sure.
to the site. The reason why I haven't given up my other site is I'm really focused on seniors who need to downsize and are selling their home. And so my website is totally customized for that niche.
Got it.
They're
You
not
can build
looking
an
to buy houses.
You could build an internal page for that,
Okay,
you know, and advertise it. I'm not going to show you today how to build internal pages,
got it.
but I have videos on it. But you could build an internal page. Like, for instance, I built this internal page when COVID started, and people were kind of like, how do we buy and sell houses? I just built this internal page. Like, it's super easy, right? And you could put videos on it. You could blog on it more. You can add photos. So I just kind of built this super simple one to just kind of showcase what can be done. So you could build an internal page that speaks to seniors and just advertise it as a Facebook ad and lead people to it. There's lots of things you can do on the internal pages. So we can talk about that another time. But if you want to reach out to me when you email me about your website, I can kind of guide you through that a little bit. Okay, so let's talk about the different features. The first thing I want to show you is the simple stuff. Just how to search. How do your consumers search? You guys need to know how they search. So if they ask you, you can tell them, but it's pretty self-explanatory. Up here, you're just going to see the different filters. Okay, for sale, let's say I'm going to look for homes. I only want to see active homes and homes that might be coming soon. Okay, so then I do that. If I want to look for a price, let's try like 349 and up. And maybe just my property type will be houses and beds and baths, 3 and 2. And maybe I also want to filter a little bit more. Okay, so maybe I could do square footage. In New Jersey, we don't do a lot of square footage, so I'm not going to do that here. If it's a condo, I can see if they have parking. I can search for keywords. I can maybe only show open houses that are coming up. So there's 13 open houses in Bloomfield right now that are coming up this weekend. Maybe I don't want to look at open houses, and maybe I just want to see homes that have been reduced within the last 7 days. I can toggle this, and there's 6 properties in Bloomfield that have had recent price reductions. And you can see down 20,000, down 29,000, down 32,000. So this is very simple. And Zillow and Realtor have the same types of filters. I don't know if they have the price reduction filter, but I know and I'm not sure if they have the open house filter, but they definitely do have the more filter. So that's just a very, very, very simple way for your consumers to just toggle and do the criteria. Now, let's say as a consumer, I want to do price reductions only, and I want to save that search. So if I'm a consumer on my website, on your website, I'm just going to click save search, and let me log in. And let's do that again. Save search. So Bloomfield. Bloomfield price reductions. And when do I want to get notified? I want to get notified instantly. So as soon as there's a price reduction, I will get an email within 30 minutes of that price reduction reflecting on the website. I'm going to click save, and I'm going to dismiss. Now, the cool part is in Command, you'll be able to see that the client just created a search. It'll say Bloomfield price reductions. I'll show you guys later. Bloomfield price reductions. And it will say search created by the consumer. So that's how you know that people are, I can jump in there real quick and show you. You'll know, that's how you know people are doing stuff. So let me show you that really, really quickly before I move on to the next feature, because I will forget to show you if I don't show you now. Jump into my contacts. And if you have the KW app now, if you have the Command app, not the Keller Williams home search app, you'll be able to see the most recently active. So if I click recently active, it will show up and it will say Nick Baldwin, active a minute ago. And let's click me. And you can see right here, save search. Okay. If I click on save searches, Bloomfield price reduction is created by consumer instantly. You'll be able to see it right in the timeline. Oh, Nick was active a minute ago. That's what he did. That's super cool. So now I can see that he's saving properties. Yeah.
Hey, Nick, does it also show as an alert up in the top right with the little red dot over the bell?
It doesn't show as an alert, but it shows on the recently active tile on the app. So if you click recently active, it'll take you to your contacts and show you who was most recently active. So it'll show me a minute ago, and then you can click and then look at the timeline and see what they did. Okay, he logged in, and then he created this search.
Thanks.
There's going to be more notifications because it's iteration 1.0. It's version 1.0. So as the app evolves, yes, you will start to get notifications. So-and-so created a save search. So-and-so saved this for favorites. So-and-so looked at this property 3 times. You'll start to get those notifications when the app evolves. So that's coming soon. But right now, just periodically click and see recent activity. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you. Go Bloomfield, New Jersey. And let me zoom in a little bit. Oops, hold on one second. Okay, so let me show you. Let me go to let me clear this and go to my current location. Oops. Current location. Sorry, there's people trying to get in and I clicked that by mistake. Okay. All right, so I'm in my current location and you're going to see something that's slightly different on the map. When somebody signs in and they start searching or they type in a town or they go to the current location, they're going to see these little neighborhoods. And so the neighborhoods come over from our exclusive partnership called Nextdoor. And Nextdoor is a social media website. Think of it like Facebook groups, but you have to actually live in the confines of these funny blue lines to join that quote group or that neighborhood. And I get a lot of this stuff from agents. Well, the neighborhoods are inaccurate, or this isn't what they call the neighborhood. You know, that's not really what it's called, or so on and so forth. And what you have to understand is the people that live in those neighborhoods, they created the neighborhoods. Okay. So like if I'm going to go to this one because there's a lot of data for Broughton Avenue, New Jersey. The people that live in the neighborhoods, they created the neighborhoods. So it's kind of hard to argue with someone who created this neighborhood in which they live and the people there call it this. It's kind of hard to argue with that, right? So like I live in a subdivision called Walden Creek. That's what it's called. But what if the people at Walden Creek didn't call it that? What if they called it like Walden Lake or something, right? And we named it Walden Lake on Nextdoor. Granted, it says Walden Creek on the sign, but maybe we don't call it that. So it's one of those things where like the people creating the neighborhoods called it what they decide to call it. Now, I can definitely say this Demarest, that's silly because Demarest is a much bigger section than that. Watchung East, you know, I don't know that people call it that. Watchung Plaza, yes, they call it that. Maybe the people that call it, maybe people call it Watchung East who live here, but I've never called it Watchung East. I wouldn't even know what Watchung East is if you told me, and I used to live in Montclair. So it's one of those things where like the people that live in the neighborhood, they have given it that name. So let's talk about neighborhoods because we have an exclusive with Nextdoor and it allows us to break up our data down from a town to a zip code to an actual little area of the world, you know, like a mile. Sometimes it's just a couple of blocks. in Broughton Avenue's case, this is probably about a mile. I used to live in this area on one of these streets here. I actually created this neighborhood, and nobody called it Broughton Avenue, but it's known as a very long block that runs in between two major streets. So I just called it Broughton Avenue. This allows your clients to search on a much more hyper local level. So if I click on Southwest Nutley, only the properties available in Southwest Nutley are going to show up. If I click on Nutley, same thing. Only those properties are going to show up. If I click on Broughton Avenue, only those properties are going to show up. And it allows you to give your consumers a snapshot of a tiny little area of a much larger town or city. And so, this is very helpful for helping them decide to make offers and how much to offer. It helps, appraisers if you're able to talk to them in some way, shape, or form. But it breaks it down into a much more hyper local level, and real estate is a hyper local industry. It just is. It's not a zip code level. Like if you're from northern New Jersey, you know that like you could go from one end of Montclair to the other and go through like four different home values, right? And it's only like 5 or 6 miles less. So that is one of the exclusives that we have. And this is what I was talking about before. If you want to get your clients off of Zillow, the way to get them off of Zillow is to give them this really hyper local information, because they don't want you to be an on-demand agent. They just want on-demand information. And if they can't find this somewhere and they can only find it here, this is where they're going to go. So let me show you the neighborhood, the ability to explore a neighborhood.
Nick,
So,
can I ask a quick question when you
sure.
have gone through this, or right now maybe?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is Kimberly. And
Hey, Kimberly.
hi, I was around for iteration 1, 2, 3 of the app when I was working in Richmond. And one of the features I appreciated was our ability to drop a pin on a special neighborhood asset. We were all dropping pins in the neighborhood when we would go and take clients there, or just driving through, or we had a lot of neighborhood knowledge. We were able to say, this is the best, in our view, here's a fantastic coffee shop, or here's the great Mexican restaurant near you. Here's this synagogue, church, all of these things. We were able to drop pins, and consumers, clients could get a fuller picture of the neighborhood when we didn't necessarily have time to actually drive them through it.
So let me show you what we have. Let me show you what we have that kind of replaced that a little bit.
Okay.
There's two different things that we have integrated into the site that, could possibly help answer that question. So I'm just going to jump into the ability to explore the neighborhood, and I'll show you what we have. And then there's another way that you can search that's similar to that as well. It's not exactly the same thing, but maybe it'll help a little bit. So I'm going to click on well, hold on. There's a couple of questions in here. I'm just looking at some of the questions, and I'll go back and I'll look through some of them after we finish up. But let me jump in here and explore neighborhoods. The cool part about this page is that there are 6 different websites in one on these neighborhood pages. And there's about 600,000 neighborhood pages across the country, which, by the way, you can look all across the country with our websites. And so there's about 600,000 neighborhoods on Nextdoor that all filter over to our sites. And this site showcases 6 pieces of information that your clients would otherwise have to go off of your site to Google, and they don't have to do that anymore. So let me show you what I mean. It's very convenient. Number 1, market snapshot. They would have to go to a different site like Zillow to get a market snapshot. They would have to go to another site to look at homes for sale. They can toggle between actives, pendings, upcoming open houses. et cetera, et cetera. They would have to go somewhere to find out, what people say about living in this area or this community. All of this is filtering over from Nextdoor and a couple other data aggregates, and it's all fair housing compliant. So people here like to work out. They like organized sports. They're hardworking people. They like to go to live music events. They like to drink wine. They're into healthy foods. So your clients that are looking here to see what it might be like to live in that neighborhood will see, oh, okay, like I relate to a few of these things. And so I think I might make friends here. Calculating a commute. When they calculate a commute, they log in, the commute times will show up on every listing and on every neighborhood page. So they never have to wonder how long it takes to get certain places. These are important places: KWNJ Metro Group, Port Authority Bus Terminal. How long does it take to get to New York City? The closest Starbucks to my work. Okay, so those things are really important. And then it shows a little map in terms of like how to get there, and you can click directions and it takes them to Google Maps for those directions. Nearby schools and Yelp. So Kimberly, you were talking about places. We have Yelp integrated into our site, and it shows them where everything is in relation to that specific neighborhood. And so they don't have to veer off of your website to see that, and they can filter between restaurants, grocery stores. There's none in that area. Any nightlife or bars, cafes, if there's any gyms. Okay, there's a couple. Wow, it's Nutley. They all like to work out in Nutley, New Jersey. If you guys are from Northern New Jersey, they work out there in Nutley at the Extreme Gym. Arts and entertainment. I'm not really sure what these guys are, but so this is kind of what we have now, and your consumer loves Yelp. Like there's no doubt about it. They love Yelp, and they love to see ratings from their peers. So we can't drop a pin, but they can go to a neighborhood page and see what's in the actual area.
If we have a Yelp account, business account.
Yeah, no, it doesn't sync.
Okay, thanks.
No.
Okay.
So let's count these. So how many sites are on this one page? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different websites on one page. You're keeping your clients on your site more than usual. And we have average time on site, average time on the Keller Williams websites is 9 minutes. That's like a lifetime in terms of the internet. 9 minutes. That's how long consumers are spending when they look for houses. Do you know how long 9 minutes is? in the world of internet? It's like forever. So it works because when they get down to the bottom, then there's more neighborhoods, and they're like they get trapped in these neighborhood data, in the neighborhood data. So the average time on site on a zip code level market snapshot, KW has tested this. The average time on site on a zip code level screenshot is 30 seconds. Okay. The average time on a neighborhood level market snapshot like this is 44 minutes. So the average time on site in general, looking at homes, is about 9 minutes. The average time the consumer is looking at neighborhoods is 44 minutes compared to 30 seconds on a zip code level. I don't know about you, but I want my clients on my website for 44 minutes, because then they just keep getting sucked into it's when you go to YouTube for a specific reason, and then you get stuck watching cats playing the piano for 3 hours. Exact same thing.
Nick?
Yeah.
Kathy Hartman. So I live in very rural upstate New York.
Mm-hmm.
The village that I live in has 350 people in it.
Oh my goodness.
So needless to say, I service the entire county. So how can I utilize this?
Is there a neighborhood for it?
There's a neighborhood for my village, but I can't. How can I pull in another neighborhood that I service that I don't live in?
So you can't do that on door because you have to live there in order to create the neighborhood. Unfortunately. So
Yeah.
like if you want to create a neighborhood on next door, you have to physically live in that neighborhood. So I would suggest maybe like advertising yourself on the next door neighborhood in your village with 350 people. You could advertise yourself on next door. I don't think it's that much money. I don't know how lucrative it'll be,
It
but
won't be.
yeah. So
They,
you know what I
use
mean?
me anyway.
What?
All 350 of those people know me, and most of them use.
Oh,
me.
you should have 100% market share.
I
Let's
know.
make it happen.
I can't just live on that.
I know it's 350 people. You need to move.
I do.
No. That's my advice. Move. No. That's crazy. I would love to live in a little town. That's what I want to do. I want to like my wife's been watching a lot of Christmas movies on Lifetime and Hallmark, and everybody, it's always like, you know, the guy from Big Pharma like moves to, you know, rural upstate New York and opens a coffee shop. Like I want to be that guy. But that's kind of cool. I would love to live in a little town like that. But yeah, I mean, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I think just start farming all 350 people. That can't cost that much money. But yeah, so unless you live in a neighborhood, you can't start the neighborhood. So I think that answers your question, right?
Hey, Nick.
Yep.
What I did, this is Chris Whitus from Rochester, New York.
Hey, my grandmother lives in Rochester.
Oh, really? Okay, cool.
She's 102.
Oh, my.
She still lives by herself. Well, she has people that help her, but still.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So when the e-edge sites went away, I went through that and found those people that had listing alerts that were active on it. And what I did to set up searches for them on my website was I didn't go in through contacts. I went to my website, created a search that was pretty consistent with what they had, and saved it, used their email address to log in, and created a password for them. And then I sent them an email saying, hey, you know, we don't have this function. You can't go to your e-edge anymore, but I've created this search for you. And so you could also set it up there. So then you don't have any of the restrictions of neighborhoods or zip codes or anything. You can draw if you want to.
Right. Yeah, that's a good piece of advice. Depending on how many clients you're actively working with, or depending on how big your sphere of influence is, if there are people that are important to you, what I would suggest is creating, the email and then making the password their phone number so they can easily remember it. And just, like you said, just send them a note saying, hey, I just signed you up on my new site. It's your email address and then your phone number to log in. And I think you'll like it. But that's a very good idea. It can it can take a while, but sometimes it's really worth it, you know?
Yeah. I like the idea of the phone number. What I did is I used the same password for everybody, and I created a smart plan. And then when I was done with it, so I set the smart plan to automatically go out when I tag somebody. So I set up a tag that was called done. And so they were tagged and the smart plan went out to them.
Oh, I love it. You're very tech savvy. That's super awesome to hear. Yeah. The phone number is super easy because they'll never forget it.
Yeah. I like that.
But cool. Thanks for the advice. I think people, if you have like a handful of very valuable people in your database and you want to take the time to set them up on accounts, that way, you can see what they're searching for. That's awesome. Okay, let me see. There's a couple of questions in the chat. I'm going to get to your questions at the very end. So we can keep moving. So I will get to those. So don't worry. I want to show you a way to search, and Kimberly, this might help you too. I want to show you a way to search that you can't do on Zillow or homes.com or realtor.com, because we have an exclusive partnership with Google Earth. We can search by a physical location. whether by its name or by its actual address. Like, let me give you an example. I'm going to start on a very broad scale, and then I'm going to go on a more hyper local. So let's say I'm an agent in New York City. And let's say I'm a client looking in New York City and I want to live near Central Park. I would just type in Central Park, New York City, and search for listings near Central Park. And when I do that, there we go. It'll bring me right. Let me switch over to satellite view because it's cooler. It'll bring me right to the middle of Central Park. And when I zoom out, it will then show me neighborhoods and apartments and homes for sale around Central Park. If I wanted to live in the Hollywood Hills, but I just type in the Hollywood sign, and it'll take me right to the Hollywood sign. When I zoom out and then I scroll down a little bit, I can start to see homes for sale in the Hollywood Hills. If I wanted to live near my job, KWNJ Metro Group, here it is. Right. Oh, actually, no, it's right here. It will bring me near my office, and I can start to see neighborhoods that are for sale. Now, if I have a client that is interested in a school, they want to live near the high school, Montclair, New Jersey High School. Here's the high school, and I can zoom out and start to see neighborhoods and homes for sale near the high school. So you can, your clients can create searches around specific landmarks. Like this is a cool one. A lot of people like to live near Michigan Stadium. And so if your client wants to live near Michigan Stadium, they can zoom out and then come right over here and save that search and call it Michigan Stadium. Now, what you would do, because if you want to add more than one neighborhood, what I would do, who's the agent from Ann Arbor? I'm forgetting your name. I'm so sorry. But what I would do is go into command when you're setting up a safe search and then set up a safe. Let's do this. Let's say I wanted to set up a search for somebody around Michigan Stadium. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to show you exactly what to do. Okay. I'm going to go into command and I'm going to click create safe search. And I'm going to choose the neighborhoods, but I'm going to find them on the map. Okay. So let's type in the neighborhood. Which one was that? Worst W. Let's do Germantown because that's Almendinger Park. That's a good one to do because I need to grab this. Okay, so search for a location. Almendinger Park. Oh, you know what I have to do? Hold on a sec. Close the map. Where? No, it's not coming up. What the heck? Oh, because I'm nowhere near it. That's the problem. I'm nowhere near it. Yeah, so I have to be near it. That's the problem. But what I would do is this. Oh, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's say I wanted to set up someone near the high school, like I was showing you before. The Montclair, New Jersey High School. I can do that one because I know that area well. The high school is kind of in this area. So it's like right here, right? What I would do is I would set someone up on this type of search. So I would select the 3 or 4 neighborhoods that are near the high school, and then I would create that search for them. So you can select more than one. All right. So if someone wants to live near a particular area, go to that town and then locate that area on this map within the command side. And then when you name it, you just call it homes near high school. and you're good to go. Or homes near Michigan Stadium, or homes near KWNJ Metro Group, or homes near the train station. So if there's a really popular place where people like to live, your clients can create those searches, and they can search by that particular landmark. Does anybody have any questions around that? Because I think that's one of the coolest things that our site offers. Just searching. Tina says, "Go blue." Yeah, I think that that's one of the coolest things that our websites have, the ability to search by a specific landmark. That's what I love that. What do you guys think? Did you guys know that we could do that?
No. How does a consumer do it?
Yeah, you got to let them know, because we don't advertise it, but you can say, hey, if you can search by landmark, you can search by, so let's say like, I had a client that wants to live near Edgemont Park, which is in Montclair, New Jersey. I might have to type Montclair, New Jersey, because there's multiple Edgemont Parks. So here's Edgemont Park. This is the park with the pond. So you just got to let them know. They just have to type it in. Here's a school, Edgemont School. That's an elementary school. So you can search by school district too. So you just have to know the name of the school district. So I'm going to do Clarkston Community, and it'll show up school districts, Clarkston Community School District. That's where I live. So this is the entire school district. All right. So you just have to know the name of the district, and that should show up. So that's another cool thing too. Anybody have any questions around that?
So you can save 4 or 5 searches.
Oh my gosh. Your clients can have 100 searches if they want. Yeah. They have many searches as they want.
Can we set up the searches for them as an agent?
Yeah, you just do it. You just do it on the command side.
Okay.
Or if you know their login, you can go in and do it, but you do it on the command side. So you go to their contact, and you type save searches, and then you just create the search. But when the drawing comes back, it'll be easier, because you could just draw a circle. But in the meantime, if you want to highlight a specific area, you'd have to do it by neighborhood. If you want to just do entire zip code, then you actually have to do it for the whole zip code. So if I know what neighborhoods the Clarkston Community Schools encompass, I would just select those neighborhoods for them. But yeah, so consumer, okay, so it'll say created by consumer, and if an agent created, it'll say created by the agent, and it'll say your name.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. So you see everything I've been looking at while I've been showing you, even neighborhoods, gets documented on the agent side. I just also want to show you collections, and then we'll jump into a few questions. All right. So save searches and collections are completely different. Save searches are when a house hits the market in that zip code or neighborhood, your client gets an alert, all sorts of alerts. They'll get a new listing alert. They'll get price reduction alert. They'll get an open house alert. They'll get a pending alert. They will get an alert when the house sells or closes. They'll get an alert if a house comes back on the market. They get all sorts of alerts if they decide to do a save search. Collections are favorites, completely different. They don't get alerts on favorites. They only get to make folders, essentially. And by the end of the year, in the next 3 weeks or so, we should be able to create collections for our clients on the command side. We can't do that yet, but your clients can do it. So here's what happens. Okay, I'm going to show you what happens. When I click the heart, it will then pop up. Hold on one second. It's doing a little slow all of a sudden. I've had some internet problems. Let me refresh. Okay, so I'm going to heart this. Oh, I got to log back in. Okay. So in order to create a collection, you have to log in. So that's a push. That's another notification there. So let me click. Okay. So new collection. Let's say I'm starting a collection for homes that have, I don't know, fenced in, finished basements. Okay. So homes with finished basements. Okay, so I'm going to save that to my new collection. I'm going to throw this one in here too. Whoops. And let's just do one more. Okay, so now I've created this collection. Now let's take a look at it. Homes with finished basements. Here are 3 homes that I saved in my favorites with finished basements. I can add a note. The note is right here under each one. So I could say why I saved that. So, big finished basement. And when I save it, the little note shows up right underneath the property on the left-hand side. If I come over here and edit it, I can say these homes have big finished basements. And when I save that, then right here, a little description of this particular, as a consumer, a little description of this particular collection lets me know why I started this collection. Then the magic happens when your consumer comes over here to the upper right-hand side and clicks share. They can share this with anybody. So let's pretend I'm sharing it with Nick. Okay. I'm going to share this with, let's say Nick is my brother. Okay. You can share it with brother, mother, sister, husband, wife, daughter, whoever. It doesn't really matter. And when you share the collection, it invites that person into your website. So if my client shares the collection with their father and their father doesn't have an account on my website, once they accept the invitation and they log in, now I have my client's father in my database. So let's click add. And then I'm just going to open up my Gmail.
Nick, can I ask a question while you're doing that?
Sure. I'm just going to show you guys what it looks like when a collection gets shared. I remember the password. Okay, hold on one second. I might have to share it to a different. Oh, I remembered it. Yeah. Well, hold on to that question because it's about to log in. I'm going to show you what it looks like. Oh, see, now I got to do this on my stupid phone. Hold on one second. It's going to take 1 second. Yes, it's me.
I love your dialogue. I talk to my objects too.
Come on. It's making me, got it. It's making me do this again. Yes, I said it was me. This should work. Okay, I got it. So here, look, I'd like to add you as a collaborator. So here's what it looks like when someone shares a collection. Okay, so then if I open the collection, if I'm not logged in, it will prompt me to log in. But now I can look at the collection and I can add homes to the collection with the person that asked me to share, to ask me to collaborate with them. So that's pretty cool, right? And it puts people into your database inadvertently. What was the question that you had?
So if I share my app with someone and they go to log into the app and everything, and they put me as their agent, so they're on the phone, but then if they get on the computer and go to my website,
Mm-hmm.
do they use the same credentials that they use
exactly the
on
same.
the app?
Exactly the same.
Okay.
Exactly the same. I also want to show you one more thing before I answer a bunch of questions for you guys. Let me just share my screen again. Okay, so before I was on my website, I was on the Nick Baldwin website, which is buyingmontclair.kw.com. Right now, I'm on just kw.com. Okay, just the regular Keller Williams site. If I'm a client of Nick's and I don't remember what Nick's website is, but I know I can go to kw.com. All I have to do is I go to kw.com and I log in. And when I log into the Keller Williams website, what happens? It turns into Nick's website. So Nick is the agent, even on just the regular Keller Williams site. All of my saved searches are here. So when I click on a property like this, even though I'm not on Nick's website, Nick is still here. If I wanted to save thousands with Keller Mortgage, it will bring me to a pre-approval link with Nick's branded to Nick as well. So the cool thing is that even if they're not on your site, but they're on kw.com and they log in with their credentials, they'll still have you as their agent, which is a pretty cool feature. So you're following them around the entire KW ecosystem. Yeah, Casey Clark. What's up, Casey? I knew you signed in. I just didn't know if you were still here. But that is very cool. So they don't even have to know what your website is. Just tell them to go to kw.com and log in. You're going to be there. It knows because it knows who your Allison's asking. It knows because it knows who your clients are. They're tied to you within command. So everything is tied together. Everything is tied together. I'm going to hit the stop recording and I'm going to answer some of your questions before we hop off. So I'm going to stop recording right now.